Good evening. My name is Felicia Miller, and on behalf of the Board of Directors, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you here tonight and to extend a heartfelt mazel tov to our graduates and their families. To begin this evening's ceremony, I ask that you please join the MJDS Choir in the singing of our national anthem. Please be seated. I now have the pleasure of introducing Rabbi Jacob Herber, spiritual leader of Congregation Beth Israel Ner Tamid, and proud father of MJDS alum Michal Herber, and one of our graduates tonight, Adine Herber. Rabbi?
Baruchim Habayim, welcome to all of you. It's really a delight, an honor, and a pleasure to welcome you not only as the rabbi of Congregation Beth Israel Ner Tamid, but as Felicia has said, a parent, a very, very proud parent, not only of my own son Adine, but of every single graduate who is sitting on this bima. And I extend a great big mazel tov to all of the parents and families, and to our students who are graduating tonight, and most especially to their teachers, without whom they would not be able to celebrate their graduation. In the spirit of this tekes, of this completion of the education of our graduates, I'd like to share a teaching with you of a rabbinic text. Hopefully most of you have it in hand. And if you're conversant in the Mishnaic Hebrew, feel free to follow along as I read it in the English. And it's the story about a student who actually goes on to become one of the greatest teachers of Judaism. His name was Hillel HaZaken, Hillel the Elder. Many of us know the story about how he welcomed the question of a pagan who wanted to learn the essence of Judaism. Another teacher, Shammai, wasn't so welcoming. But because of Hillel and the approach that he took as a teacher, welcoming the student who was a pagan ends up joining the Jewish people. Many people, though, and I bet many of you don't know the story of Hillel at the beginning of his career. And that's what you have in your hand tonight. It was reported of Hillel the Elder that every day he used to work and earn a trophah, a coin, half of which he would give to the doorkeeper of the Beit Midrash, the house of learning. The other half he would spend for his family and his family's food. So we know that Hillel was a very humble man who worked hard for a living, and he didn't have a lot of disposable income. He used half of it to take care of his family and himself. He used the other half for a very precious endeavor. What was that endeavor? Studying Torah. But one day, he didn't find any work. He didn't have a trophy. And the Beit Midrash Shomer, the guard, wouldn't let him inside the Beit Midrash. So Hillel climbed to the roof, and he sat on the skylight, one just like the one above me. He sat there to hear words of the living God from the mouths of Shmaya and Avtalyon, the two great sages whose Beit Midrash he was trying to get into. That day was Erev Shabbat. It was Friday night. And it was the wintertime. Snow fell. When the dawn rose, Shmaya said to Avtalyon, "Brother Avtalyon, on every day this house is light, and today it is dark." Light because light was coming in through the skylight, but also or because Torah is the or of enlightenment. From Torah, we gain wisdom. So it's a real light and it's a metaphorical light. They looked up and they saw on the skylight the figure of a man. They climbed to the roof and they found Hillel covered in 3 amot of snow. And amah is from the elbow to the middle finger. So imagine stacking 2 more arms on top of mine. That's how much snow was covering Hillel. They removed him, they bathed him, they anointed him, they placed him opposite the fire, and they said, "This man deserves to have the Sabbath laws violated on his behalf." That's exactly what they did. They carried him from a public domain into a private domain. They violated the rule against carrying on Shabbat. And they would have violated many other laws. Why? Because they recognized the true greatness of Hillel. Hillel would do anything to learn Torah. Now, I could spend an hour talking about why there needed to be a guard in front of the Beit Midrash, collecting money in order for people to get in to study Torah. But that was not going to dissuade or stop Hillel. If it meant lying on the roof so he could hear words of Torah penetrate to his ear, even though he was covered in snow, that's what Hillel would do, because that's how precious Torah and learning Torah was for him. For the grown-ups here and beyond, my blessing and my hope is that as a community, we will continue to think creatively about what we can do to ensure that young minds and hearts like the students sitting on our bima will be able to study Torah in its complexity, in its subtlety, and in its vastness. That no one should ever be turned away because they can't afford to sit in a classroom and learn Torah. And my blessing for you, our graduates, is that you, tonight and every other day of your life, as graduates of a jewel of our community, a true Jewish community day school, that you will feel the passion that Hillel Hazaken had in his early days. That you will continue to do whatever you can to learn secular subjects, and most especially to strive to learn Torah. And to continue to grow as Jewish learners, so that one day, like Hillel, you too will grow to be teachers of Torah, and you will help make our community a great one. Mazel tov and thank you.
Erev Tov and Baruchim Habayim. Good evening and welcome. My name is Brian King, and I'm the head of school at Milwaukee Jewish Day School. Thank you, Rabbi Herber, for your inspiring words that beautifully set the tone for this beautiful evening. And thank you, and Chazan Stein and the entire Beth Israel Ner Tamid family for hosting us tonight. None of us would be here tonight without the visionary leadership of our founders, 34 years ago, founding director Doris Schneidman and teachers Merzy Eisenberg and Kathy Wilkenstein welcomed the first 11 children to the brand new Milwaukee Jewish Day School. Later on, longtime beloved teacher Marge Myers became our co-director. Doris, Merzy, and Marge, and others who've worked in the past at MJDS are here tonight. Would you please rise to be recognized as our builders? There are numerous people that I want to thank tonight before sharing some thoughts with our graduates. Thank you to our parent volunteers and to the MJDS PTO for all your hard work, and special thanks to PTO co-presidents Sharon Grinker and Jody Sprinkman for their tireless efforts to build and support our school community. Thank you to the MJDS Board of Directors, many of whom are here tonight, and our community of donors for your deep commitment to our school. A special thanks to outgoing President Felicia Miller and incoming President Nathan Bernstein. Felicia, I've so enjoyed working with you over the past 2 years. Your dedication to MJDS is an inspiration. And Nathan, you've already started to make a big impact on this school. Now fasten your seatbelt for next year. And finally, we owe our deepest gratitude to the MJDS staff, to the people who inspire and cherish the children every day, to the people who keep this complex organization running efficiently every day so that we can achieve our mission. Would the MJDS staff please rise to be recognized? And now I have some words for our graduates. Tonight, I want to talk to you, our graduates, about airplanes. That's right, airplanes. I've always been, myself, a nervous flyer, even though I know, intellectually at least, that it's actually a far safer way to travel than by car. As you might imagine, people like me really hate turbulence. Not so much the little bumps here and there, but the kind of turbulence that feels like a free fall, where your stomach goes up into your throat. Well, the worst turbulence I ever experienced was on a flight returning from Israel years ago with my wife. It was so bad that many passengers' gifts and keepsakes that were fragile, checked below the plane, broke. In my case, somebody's beautiful big bottle of Israeli olive oil shattered, drenched my entire suitcase, and it was entirely ruined. It was that kind of turbulence. While my wife literally slept through it, which is something that I don't understand and I never will understand, I clawed the armrests, I was rigid as a board, and I sat there hoping that it would end soon. At some point while my stomach was being tossed about, I looked out the window, and to my horror, I watched as the plane's wing literally bounced up and down and up and down and up and down while I waited for something to crack. How could it possibly be that the plane wasn't falling apart in this kind of turbulence? After I made it home safely, thankfully, I decided to figure out the answer to my question, which was actually pretty self-evident once I started reading about it. Turns out, airplanes are built to bend, to flex under stress more than I had ever imagined. So much so that if you stand on top of an airplane, a human being, which we don't really get to the opportunity to do this, but if you did and you jumped up and down, the wings would actually vibrate. If this weren't the case, if planes were more rigidly constructed, they would indeed break apart, even in minor turbulence. I absolutely love the layers and layers of symbolism in this. You 8th graders just traveled to and from Israel by plane. Later in life, planes will take you to any number of fascinating places, and these journeys will change you. They'll change your lives forever. The plane is quite literally a vehicle for your own personal growth. And here's where it all comes together. Yes, a plane needs powerful engines to get off the ground. Yes, it needs to have a sophisticated computer system to guide passengers to its destination. But none of that matters if the plane's construction is too rigid. In other words, a plane's ability to be flexible along the journey is absolutely critical. Graduates, you have many, many journeys ahead of you in your lives. So remember this: if you want to go high and far, like an airplane, you will need to be highly flexible along the way. That means keeping an open mind. It means adapting to change. And it even means being willing to change course midstream sometimes. If you combine that flexibility with a powerful internal engine and a sophisticated internal compass, there is no destination out of your reach. B'hatzlacha b'derech, good luck, and much success along the way.
My name is Moish Steigman, and I am Rav Beit HaSefer, the school rabbi at the Milwaukee Jewish Day School. These 18 eighth graders are graduating and leaving MJDS. We also have a number of families who no longer will have children enrolled at MJDS and are therefore graduating as well. Would these parents please stand as I call your name and remain standing so that we may recognize you? Wendy and Mark Cohn. Cynthia Herber and Rabbi Jacob Herber. Rachel Kessler and Chandel Hernandez. Joan and David Kazin. Karen and Joseph Kleiman. Donna and Leo Kleiner. Noah and Rabbi Shlomo Levin. Susie and Larry Rosengarten. Jody Habish-Sinekin and Dan Sinekin. Michelle and Scott Wales. Rona and Gary Wolf. And we would also like to recognize Mariana Trevino, who is unable to be here tonight. Mazel tov. You may be seated. Would all of our alumni and former students please rise? And now it is my pleasure to introduce our graduates. Since the class is speaking in 3 sections, please hold your applause until the last of each group has finished and all the students have spoken.
Out of 13 years of my life, I've been at the Milwaukee Jewish Day School, and it has made a huge impact on my life. I remember before my first day at MJDS, I met my junior kindergarten teacher, and she tried to make me feel comfortable and prepare me for school. I picked out my favorite toy, a castle with a little prince and a door that opened and closed. She said that I would get to play with it tomorrow. That memory stuck in my head because it made me feel like part of the MJDS family. By the time I was in 4th grade, I felt like MJDS was my home. I was on the 4th grade trip to Madison, and I realized that the people I was with weren't just my classmates. They were like my siblings. In 6th grade, I took a leap of faith by joining track. Before that, I had never done any sports, so I was quite nervous. After track in 6th grade, I felt comfortable playing sports. So, the next year, I played basketball and volleyball. I really enjoyed it, and I continued both sports in 8th grade. It is all of these experiences, like sports, field trips, programs, friends, and teachers, that have made my MJDS career great. I started the first day of junior kindergarten seeing all the new faces and feeling overwhelmed. Now, at the end of 8th grade, I know everybody, and I feel like the hallways are mine. MJDS has become my home. Hem omrim, bayit hu efo shehalav shelcha. MJDS hu habayit sheli.
There are many people who have made a difference in my life, but one person especially sticks out. My grandpa, Michael Kleiner. He was a Holocaust survivor who passed away in 2011. Through his experiences and stories, he taught me to never give up. He lived in Poland when World War II broke out, and he ended up in Auschwitz, Birkenau, Buchenwald, and Buna. In the concentration camps, he could have just given up and died, but instead he fought his hunger and weakness to live and tell his story. I often use this lesson when I'm working on a difficult problem or when I play sports. Many times when I don't understand a math problem or after I miss a shot or don't get a serve in bounds, I get frustrated and I want to quit. Then I remember what my grandpa did and I calm down. I don't give up. I keep going and trying. My grandpa also taught me to always be a caring person. At synagogue, he would always give Hershey Kisses and other candy to my brother and me. My grandpa would also give the chocolate and the candy to my friends. After services, he would walk around giving Hershey Kisses to people to celebrate Shabbat. It made him and everyone he met feel happy. Now, if someone asks for help about anything, I will help them, because I want to be the kind of person my grandpa would be proud of, someone who cares and never gives up. Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, al ha'torah, al ha'avodah, ve'al gemilu chasadim.
2 years ago, I began my MJDS journey. I was shy at first, but everyone was very warm and welcomed me into the 7th grade. In fact, my whole family was very warmly accepted into this Jewish community. I have to admit, my first few days were blurs of confusion. I had a teacher speaking in Yiddish math terms like, the world is a big bowl of blichis. Chaos all around me in the halls full of unfamiliar faces, and teachers sayings like, I don't need to see your uvula when someone yawned. Everyone except me seemed to understand these things, but soon I had assimilated into the MJDS crowd. Now, many of the new faces I had to jog my memory for, just to name, are ones that represent my best friends, my brothers and sisters. Though I came later than others, I feel like I have been here since the very first day of kindergarten. A teacher once told me, don't lose who you are in high school. Because of my MJDS years, I feel comfortable entering a big high school such as Nicolet without losing my Jewish identity. I will always have my experiences from MJDS to prepare me for the big world and through all my adventures, whether it's high school, college, or adulthood. I would like to thank all my peers for accepting me into their family. I would also like to thank this whole school for making my family feel a part of this amazing Jewish community. Kol adam mutzlach yodea sheheseg talui b'kila shel anashim odim yachad. Like Paul Ryan says, every successful individual knows that his or her achievement depends on a community of persons working together.
Middle school has been a long, challenging 3 years of my life. In a way, you could compare going through middle school to the making of a movie. On the first day of middle school, we all gathered in the lunchroom and ate bagels and donuts while we discussed what middle school would be like. Then, we were each assigned to our class sections. This was like being cast into the movie. We got our schedules and lockers and started to get into the middle school routine. At that point, we were all officially part of the movie. Every big event that we had was another scene. We had the 6th grade retreat to Osrui, Mitzvah Day, holiday celebrations and ceremonies like Yom HaSmut and Yom HaShoah, and more. There were also some deleted scenes, which are little things that happened that everybody in our grade knows about, but nobody else does. Like when somebody fell off their bike on the bike trip, or when a teacher didn't show up for class who had a party. Now, this movie is almost over. 8th grade has been the climax, and now graduation is the closing credits. Soon, we will all be cast into new movies at Homestead, Nicolay, Shorewood, Cedarburg, or University School. But we will all still be able to remember our amazing movie about MJDS and think of what a wonderful time we had. Anachnu hakita shal tafshin ayin hey machzor kafchet omrim shalom lebeit hasefer Yehudi hakehilati b'Milwaukee, MJDS.
I could not just pick one person to write about in a speech about someone who made a difference in my life, so I picked 4. I picked my 4 older brothers. I always wanted to be just like my brothers, like the one time they were jumping off the side of a slide in our basement. I wanted to be just like them, so I jumped off as well and broke my arm. But really, my brothers have made me the person I am today. Jeremy taught me how to be the toughest and strongest I could be by instigating fights with me, even though he loses every time. Arias taught me how to be the best athlete I could be by playing basketball with me every day. I learned to be funny from our family comedian, Jesse, who cracks jokes every opportunity he has. Elia taught me about music and culture by introducing new music and movies to me. My brothers are my best friends and always will be. Being the youngest of 5 brothers isn't always easy, but my brothers have helped me make me who I am today.
As I stand here minutes away from graduating from a Jewish educational institution, I would like to offer some Jewish advice for the younger MJDS students. Number 1, if you ask for more than one piece of challah be'ivrit on Friday mornings, chances are the amazing teachers here will satisfy your challah needs. Number 2, Shabbat sing is unique, so you should make the most of it. I recommend going crazy with your best buddies. Unfortunately, high school does not tolerate shiru during class. Number 3, Hebrew, the language of our people, is super special, so do not daydream in Hebrew class. If you do, you could end up buying ohel, a tent, when you want ochel, food. Number 4, Purim is awesome at MJDS. Dress up in costume and have fun at the carnival. Number 5, Mitzvah Day is a day to give back to our incredible community through Tikkun Olam. The most fun spot is Ganami JCC babysitting. Be sure to partake in playing with little children. You will thank me. Number 6, do not even try to budge on the kosher policy. It does not work. Make sure everything has an OU. Number 7, similar to the kosher policy, girls, do not try to get away with wearing short shorts or tank tops. According to Jewish belief, it is immodest and inappropriate for school. Basically, just wear the right clothes so you don't miss out on anything while you are waiting for your parents to bring you new clothing. Number 8, planning an all-day, all-school celebration is not easy. From arranging Yom HaAtzmaut, I realized that maybe the teachers have it harder than it looks. Kids, if you are planning events or activities, do not expect being a teacher to be an easy task. Number 9, the teachers at this school are individually preparing you for your future and implanting Jewish values that will help you succeed. In all your classes, pay attention closely because there is more than just grammar or fractions being taught. And number 9, be grateful you are one of the chosen ones, the Jewish people, and find your Jewish identity like I am so lucky to have done at this unbelievable Jewish learning environment. Im yesh lachem etzah, atem tzrichim latet ota la'achirim velo lishmor ota la'atzmechem.
Some of us have been going to MJDS since junior kindergarten. Some started in senior kindergarten. I have been going to MJDS since I was a few months old. I passed out challah with my mom, sometimes in a stroller, every Friday morning. I sorted fruits and nuts. I attended every folk fair performance, every team event, and every play and musical that my sister Anna and my brothers David and Noah ever took part in. Everyone knew I was their baby sister. Some people assumed that I'd be the same as my siblings, that I would like the same things and be good at the same things. However, through my time at MJDS, I was allowed to discover who I was going to be. With the help of my teachers, I learned that I love to write stories. I learned that I'm good at math. I learned how to sew. I have my own interests and my own goals that don't have to look the same as my siblings or anybody else's. And my school honored these differences in me. My time at MJDS gave me a great foundation in academics, but it gave me something else just as important. It gave me a sense of who I am, through my Judaism and through my time spent learning about me. Through MJDS, I have learned that I am not just Anna's little sister, or David, or Noah's. I am my own person. Todah MJDS, al chachaveya hanifla'a hazot. Thank you, MJDS, for this wonderful experience.
Help out, do chores, play with siblings, take care of my pets, be respectful. Everybody has a role or responsibility in a family. My role is being the oldest of 5 kids. I'm often responsible for my younger siblings, and I'm one of the caretakers of our family's 9 pets. Do homework, study for tests, be a constructive learner, help your friends. Responsibility also plays a role at school. School is a big part of my life, and being responsible and organized is part of being successful in school. Be on time, be helpful, be positive, be there when you say you will, and help the teachers. My job as a madricha at Congregation Shalom has taught me responsibility. I work in the Hebrew school and help teach the children's classes. This is a real job that is helping me to learn what kind of things I'm good at and teaching me many life skills. Responsibility is a huge part of anyone's life. I am learning responsibility at home, in school, and on my job, and I hope that helps me make a difference in the world.
In my 5 years at MJDS, there have been many great times, so I created a list of the top 10 best things about MJDS. Here they are. Number 10, homework and tests. Just kidding. But they do really prepare you for high school and college. Number 9, playing on the MJDS tennis team. Even though I'm not going to Wimbledon anytime soon, I still had a lot of fun on the MJDS team. Number 8, having an iPad. This is great for educational purposes and, of course, occasionally going on YouTube. Number 7, field trips. From the Madison trip in 4th grade to the Israel trip in 8th grade, with trips to First Stage, the movies, and museums in between, MJDS field trips are awesome. Number 6, having a small grade. This is actually great. Fewer people in a classroom means better discussions and more learning. Number 5, celebrating Jewish holidays during school. At MJDS, a Jewish holiday usually means having a ceremony, making decorations, learning about the holiday during classes, and eating some kind of delicious Jewish food. Number 4, celebrating Jewish holidays with a day or 2 off of school. To go to synagogue, of course. Number 3, the awesome food. Thanks to the lunch ladies and their epic cooking and baking skills at lunch and during Omanut. Number 2, the awesome teachers. Even though they assign homework, tests, and projects, they are still pretty cool. And the number 1 best thing about MJDS is this group of 18 people. You guys have made my 5 years at MJDS fun and memorable. I will miss all of you. Toda rabah MJDS, Mikol Melamdai Hiskalti.
In the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, it is written, "The wise shall inherit honor, but as for the fools, they carry away shame. Kavod chachamim inchalu, u'chsilim harim kalon." This means that there is a reward for those who live life as a mensch, but for those who live life the opposite, there is a punishment. Through Jewish teachings at MJDS, I have learned the values a good person should have, and that has helped me in these past 3 years. It took me a while to learn this teaching. Throwing blue goo across the room to a friend, hiding under a teacher's desk while my friend covers me and acts like I'm not there, or knocking on the desk just to get on the teacher's nerves, have definitely not been examples of me following these teachings. Let's just say I've had to make a few trips to the principal's office over the years. However, through my Jewish studies and social studies classes, I have developed my ideas about what is right and what is fair, as well as how to be a positive leader. The teachers at MJDS have also allowed me to speak up and express my opinions in class, even if I don't agree with something. Usually, people don't do anything when they want something to change. They wait for someone else to do it. I've tried to bring change to the Milwaukee community through volunteer service at Agape, on Mitzvah Day at the Hunger Task Force, and with Voice of the Children. Because of MJDS, I have learned to be a mensch, and I know that I can make a difference even at my age.
Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh, Dvarim kaf yotet. This famous teaching in Judaism says that a man's surroundings are his tree. I feel like MJDS is my tree. The roots are the Jewish and Hebrew knowledge that I learned at MJDS. My Jewish studies teachers taught me about all the times that Jews have struggled and how they have overcome hate and flourished as a nation. My Hebrew teachers gave me the ability to read Torah and converse when I was in Israel. The trunk is formed of the solid friendships I have made along the way over my 10 years at MJDS. With all the students I have known, I have built at least one special connection. The trunk also represents all the people that have helped me through my ups and downs. The branches are the academic skills. Here at MJDS, we have been given a great education and have been able to build connections with teachers. I learned math skills that I took on to Nicolay this year. I learned about the successes and mistakes that we made in American history. And I learned how to take notes and to write an essay that would stand out to my future teachers. I learned to ask questions, to make educated guesses, and even to behave in class, even though I didn't necessarily do it all the time. The leaves are all the special memories of MJDS that I will even cherish when I am much older, like the 6th grade retreat, the 7th grade mystery field trip, and of course, Israel. The leaves are also all the Shinshanim that I've met over my 10 years, who now enable me to keep a direct connection with Israel. So as you can see, MJDS has met my etz, or tree. It has helped me grow into who I am today and will keep helping me grow as I enter into high school.
Our Jewish studies teachers taught us so much about the Shoah, the mass murder of European Jews and other groups by the Nazis during World War II. The Nazis wanted to wipe out the entire Jewish people. I feel now that I've become a more intelligent, thoughtful Jew from learning about the Shoah, and I will never forget these lessons. It is difficult for us today in our Jewish community to understand the hardships that many people had to go through, but we heard firsthand how difficult life was during the Shoah. We take food, water, clothing, and shelter for granted. Listening to survivors share their struggles helped me understand what it must have been like during that period in Jewish history. Through their presentations, I could almost feel myself in their shoes. After the war, many survivors might feel hate and the need for revenge, but our speakers told us that hate tears its victims apart, that hate affects its victims by destroying the person within. They often stated that if they had spent years of hating, they would have never been able to get on with their lives after the war. It was better for them to spend their time sharing the lessons of the war rather than spending time thinking about the cruelties of the war. As a result of the Shoah, entire families were erased. Within an instant, a family could be gone. Realizing this fact, I appreciate all the time I have with my family. I have learned to value the happiness, guidance, and the building of character that comes from my family and my religion. Acharei eser shanim bebei hasefer shalanu, ani lo me'amin she'ani mesayem et halimudim. Ani rotze lehodot lechol hamorim shali ve'lahorim shali, she'aziruli lehagia לרגע הזה.
שלום חברים, זה קשה לחשוב שזה היום האחרון שלי בבית ספר היהודי במילווקי. מחר אני מתחילה חיים חדשים. באמת, אני קצת דואגת, אבל בלב שלי אני יודעת שיש לי בית פה. I first walked through the star door back in the August of 2005. Back then, I was a little girl who was very shy and hid behind a curtain of curly hair. But look at me now. MJDS has changed me so much as a person. Not only has it helped me excel in academics, it has also taught me the values of being a good person, or a mensch. I first began learning vowels and consonants in K5, and now I am an avid bookworm. Once I pick up a book, I must read it cover to cover. Also, MJDS has taught me math through different abstract ways like mini computers and lattice multiplication. In addition, from a very young age at MJDS, you are taught how important it is to care for the world around you. Whether visiting a nursing home with choir in 4th grade or raising over $25,000 for children in Africa, the Voice of the Children. Last year at MJDS, our teachers have taught us that we can make a difference. Now, as I get ready to walk through these doors one last time, I am both excited and nervous about the paths that lie ahead. The transition might not be easy. I will have to overcome the fact that though walking through Homestead High School next year, I will not know everyone's name, and there will be well over 18 kids in my grade. But even as scary as high school seems, I know that I am well prepared. In 2 months, when it is time to enter high school, I will don the armor that MJDS gave me, then raise my shield and brandish my sword, and then I'll be able to take on almost anything.
Once there was a really tough ladybug. This is a line from the first book I ever wrote. I discovered my love for writing in 1st grade. My 1st grade teacher had us write stories like Eric Carle's The Very Hungry Caterpillar. I wrote a story called The Really Tough Ladybug. When I was in 5th grade, we wrote stories about traveling through time. Our characters traveled back in time in America. And in 6th grade, we wrote about imagining ourselves in ancient Egypt. I wrote from the perspective of a slave whose life was not fun, but he saved the pharaoh. A 7th grade project involved writing and illustrating a book for a 2nd grader. The title of mine was Hana Bear, Hero of Candyland. The main character is a gummy bear who saved Candyland from the humans who wanted to eat it. In my free time, I started writing a fantasy set in the time of dragons and elves and dwarves. Now I am currently writing a couple of stories because I love creating characters and the worlds that they live in. Will I keep writing? I'm not sure. But I know that my writing skills will be useful whether I become a writer, a guitar player, an artist, or a time traveler to the time of dragons and elves and dwarves.
I started MJDS as a new student in 6th grade. This was difficult because I only knew one other student who had also attended Dungeons Bay when we were in kindergarten, and I hadn't seen him much over the years. So basically, I had no friends here. While many of my classmates had known each other for several years, I was all alone. The first day was quite scary. I knew I had to make a good impression, but I didn't know how to start. However, it didn't really matter because all of the other students, curious about the new student, came up and introduced themselves. It didn't take very long to become friends with everybody. I know this would never happen at a very large school. I know students at some schools who, even after 3 years in the same grade, still don't know their names of all the classmates. But now, I not only know everyone's name, I know them all personally. Throughout these past 3 years, everybody has been a great friend. I can go up to anybody at any time and talk to them. All of the boys have very similar interests to me. We all love sports and the same shows, and we all have the same opinion on everything. I am very lucky to have all these amazing people around me, because not a lot of students in middle school have these kinds of friendships. Everybody should appreciate all of their friends at MJDS. When I began at MJDS, not a single person was my friend. Now, however, every single person in this grade is my friend. Toda Rabah, MJDS, Lechol HaMorim Bebeit HaSefer.
I can't believe these are my last moments as an MJDS student. I went from being a small, young child to a still small, young adult. I started in junior kindergarten, where I played Power Rangers, learned how to count, read picture books, and took naps, which I didn't like, but now I kind of regret that. Now I'm at the end of my 8th grade year, where I played basketball and volleyball, learned algebra, read Shakespeare, and unfortunately couldn't take naps. Now I'm getting ready to head to Homestead High School. I know that for me, high school is going to be a tough but fun stage in my life, but I know that I can get through it because of all those great teachers and their lessons that I had at MJDS. I've studied everything from Pop Rocks and soda, to frying funnel cakes, to identifying those all-important dependent clauses. Although I've tried to be a good, organized, hardworking student, by the way, that's a dependent clause, it didn't always work so well. My dad always tells me that I need to stop slacking off and do my work with all my effort instead of half of it. Otherwise, I will never get into a good college. Then I always respond with an answer similar to, I will when I start high school, I promise. Now it's time for me to keep that promise. So Mom and Dad, here's my promise. In high school, I will work hard, play baseball, make new friends, and grow.
פחדתי מהמחשבה לעזוב את בית הספר MJDS. הדבר היחיד שדמיינתי היה דלת סגורה ומסדרון כהה וריק קדימה. אבל עכשיו אני יודעת שיש דלת אחרת ועוד הזדמנות שמחכה לי. אני רק צריכה לפתוח את הדלת שקדימה ולחקור את העולם בחוץ. אני יודעת שהבית שגרתי בו, עבדתי בו ולמדתי בו ב10 השנים האחרונות, Milwaukee Jewish Day School, הכין אותי לשלב הבא, להרפתקה הבאה. לשמחתי, הדלת של MJDS לא כל כך סגורה. הדלת קצת פתוחה, כי בית הספר MJDS, המשפחה שלי, תמיד יקבל את הביקורים שלי בברכה. אלכסנדר גרם בל אמר, כאשר דלת אחת נסגרת, דלת אחרת נפתחת, אבל הרבה פעמים אנחנו מסתכלים בצער על הדלת שנסגרת, ואנחנו לא רואים את הדלת שנפתחת לנו. אני לא אסתכל אחורה בצער. אני אלך קדימה לדלת הבאה, להזדמנות הבאה שלי, עם הביטחון שקיבלתי ב-MJDS, גם באקדמיה וגם ברוחניות. אני מתרגשת מכל ההזדמנויות שאותן אני עומדת לגלות.
I used to dread graduating and the thought of leaving MJDS. The only thing I could imagine was a closed door behind me and a dark, empty hallway ahead. But now I realize that there is another door,
and another opportunity waiting for me. I just have to open that door and explore the world outside. I realized that the home where I lived, worked, and learned for 10 years, the home called Milwaukee Jewish Day School, has prepared me for the next step, the next adventure. Happily, the MJDS door is not closed all the way. It is left ajar, and it will never fully close because MJDS, my other family, will always welcome my visits. Alexander Graham Bell said, "When one door closes, another opens, but we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us." I will not look back regretfully. I will stride forward to the next door, to my next opportunity, with the confidence I have gained at MJDS, both academically as well as spiritually. I am excited for all the opportunities that I will discover on the other side of this new door.
Before leaving for Israel,
I've been looking forward to this trip forever.
I cannot believe that I was going to a place we have been talking about for 10 years.
I thought it would be very fun, but I was nervous about going halfway around the world for my family.
On arriving in Israel,
Wow!
we were met by a group of Interlaken friends.
I kissed the ground.
I was astonished to see all the Hebrew writing everywhere.
When we climbed Masada,
it was a very tough climb.
It was tiring and hot, but the view from the top made up for it.
It was gorgeous because the whole time the sun was rising over our heads. It felt like I was at the top of the world.
At the Dead Sea.
The salt made me bob like a cork.
It was 100% awesometude.
one piece of advice: do not get salt in your eyes or mouth. Oi.
The weather was
hot.
It got up to 109 degrees.
We had to put on loads of sunscreen.
I didn't need a sweatshirt.
The sun was always bright and shining over our heads.
At Ben Gurion's house,
It was frozen in time. It was interesting to see how modestly he lived.
Scorpion hunting.
I am terrified of bugs, so it was scary yet cool.
It was a long war between us and the scorpions. In the end, both the scorpions and the humans were fine.
at the Air Force Museum,
we saw all the different planes that were used in the Israeli Air Force.
It was cool sitting in the exact plane for Operation Entebbe.
I felt like a real pilot.
At the Tank Museum,
Standing on the tank, I knew what it was like to be in the IDF.
I sat on a tank. Enough said.
At the Dig for a Day,
we stepped on ground that no one had stepped on for 2,200 years.
It was a little messy, but finding the little pieces of pottery was great.
it was amazing to think that thousands of years ago, people were using the items we found.
Jerusalem.
We were in the holiest place in the world for our people.
It was a beautiful city and so accepting of other ethnicities.
Yad Vashem
Was overwhelming.
Very moving and intense.
We knew so much things about Herman.
Everything we saw symbolized something about the Shoah.
The Total Memorial was so meaningful, with 5 counts reflected by mirrors over and over again to make a universal book.
Herding sheep.
Was challenging.
It was funny to watch our classmates try to herd the sheep.
We found out we had a sheep whisperer among us.
I hated it.
In Hezekiah's tunnel,
It was cold and wet. It was as if we were soldiers 3,000 years ago.
We were walking through history.
The food in Israel
Was amazing.
I had the best movie of my life, although I have no idea what was in it.
The fruit was the freshest I have ever tasted.
The falafel was crispy on the outside, soft and warm on the inside.
For bizarre lunches, we can get shawarma, falafel, schnitzel, pizza, hamburgers, Israeli fast food, Israeli junk food.
I could live off of shawarma and Sprite.
Rucola for marzipan was the best.
Why don't we have Passiflora gelato here?
Shopping in Israel.
The market was pure chaos.
We instantly went on a shopping spree.
That was the first time I ever actually liked shopping.
There are so many stores, and all of them were amazing.
It was fun trying to bargain.
I bought a shirt that said Guns N' Moses.
Shabbat in Israel.
On Shabbat and Shavuot, there was barely anyone on the streets or driving cars.
It's like the city shuts down for the whole day.
It was so quiet.
It was very relaxing.
It was very moving, spending the holy day in the holiest place.
Praying at the kotel.
I could feel the energy of so many people gathered for one purpose.
There are lots of birds flying around. People say they're bringing our prayers to God.
I'm staying with our Israeli host families.
I was very nervous about meeting my host family, but they became my best friends.
They treat us like family.
My hosts were exactly like me.
It was great to live like an Israeli kid for a day.
I loved talking in Hebrew with them, and they loved talking in English with me.
My host mom made me a chocolate sandwich.
At Kaduri Regional School,
it was so fun to be around all those Israeli kids.
We got to see what it's actually like to be an Israeli student.
I met some girls.
The boys were quite attractive.
Tel Aviv is like the Israeli New York.
The drivers love to honk their horns.
The beach was awesome.
In a bunker on the Golan Heights.
Seeing the mountains and trees was special after so much desert.
Seeing the border between Israel and Syria was scary but interesting.
We could see what it was like for the soldiers in the bunker.
Overall, the trip was
the most intensely perfect experience in this entire galaxy.
I cannot pick one thing I liked the most because everything was amazing.
It exceeded my expectations.
The trip brought me closer to my friends.
Living with each other for 10 days made us a family.
One of the best parts was seeing, hearing, and understanding Hebrew everywhere.
Before I went, I was searching for the Jew inside of me, and on the trip I found him.
I was in the holiest place. I touched the holiest object, and best of all, I did this all with my friends.
Now we know how lucky we are to have Israel after all of the struggles and sacrifices.
When I go back to Israel, I will
take my family and show them everything.
I will go to every ice cream place I can.
I might join the IDF.
I will feel as if I'm going home.
I'm probably going to live there.
For making our class trip possible, we thank our fantastic chaperones, Joan Katz, Bert Rosengarten, and Dr. Kravitz.
Maya, our awesome tour guide.
Gil, our chill security guard.
Yossi, the best bus driver ever.
Our parents for letting us go.
And paying for it.
Thunderstorm, who made this trip possible.
Whoever you are, we really want you to know how much this trip means to all of us.
Thank you, MJDS.
Now, it is an honor and a pleasure to present diplomas to this year's graduates. Please hold your applause until all of our graduates have been recognized. Aviva Levin. Ilan Graupe. David Rosengarten. William Gray. Adine Herbert. Megan Gendelman. Benjamin Kleiman. Blair Wales. Justin Sinekin. Nessia Graupe. Stephen Dorff. Abigail Messerman. Nathan Hernandez. Sadie Wolf. Evan Kleiner. Zachary Cohn. Andrew Kazin. And we would also like to recognize Talia Trevino, who was unable to be here tonight. I now present to you the class of 2015, 5775.
You may all be seated. I'm Ann Gleichman. I'm Dean of Students at MJDS. And although we are here this evening to celebrate the accomplishments of these wonderful graduates, most of whom have been in our school for 10 years, from junior kindergarten through 8th grade, it has been our tradition and my privilege to acknowledge staff members who have been part of the MJDS family for 10, 18, and 25 years. This year, unusually, we have 3 staff members who have reached the remarkable milestone of 30 years. That's 90-plus years of dedication, experience, skill, and love that have been bestowed upon countless of MJDS students. As I call your names, please come up to receive a small gift in appreciation for your 30 years at MJDS. If you would all please hold your applause until all 3 staff members have come up. Amy Bakar, teacher of Hebrew, Jewish Studies in 1st grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and many other grades over the years. Judy Dermer, 5th grade teacher, 6th grade teacher, 7th grade teacher, science teacher, math teacher, many, many, many kinds of teachers, but Judy. And last, our 3rd teacher, Marina Parat.
There's so many more things that we could have listed that those teachers have done. When you teach at MJDS, at a school like MJDS, you have a job description and you can sort of look at it and laugh because you know that at a school like ours, you will get asked to do all kinds of things. And those three, over the course of 30 years, have done just about everything at this school. So we are eternally grateful for your service and dedication.
It is traditional for the graduating 8th graders to present a class gift to MJDS. Money has been raised through the purchase of mausolograms by family and friends.
In appreciation of the wonderful education we have received during our years at MJDS, this year's class is pleased to present a new bike rack for the front entrance, as well as a flag and a solar light to shine on the flag.
Thank you. I'd like to call Jory Brody, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, back to kick off what is the final portion of our ceremony this evening.
Before we leave tonight, let's thank our wonderful choir, led by Gaveret Cohn, Gaveret Lambert, and Elna Hicks. After tonight's ceremony, please allow our graduates to leave first. Graduates, please see Gaveret Peck at the reception to pick up your folders containing your diploma, graduation photo, and mausolograms. We hope you will all join us for a reception following the ceremony, which is catered by Hannah Sattler. Thank you.
In our Torah portion this week, Parshat Shlach Lecha, at the very end, we read the words that then become the third paragraph of the Shema. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor. And toward the end, we also read the words, Lema'an tizkaru. Now, the rabbis have an interesting tradition that when we recite the second word, tizkaru, that we need to pay particular emphasis to the second letter of that second word, the Zion. And there's a tradition that says we say Lema'an tizkaru. Because here when we're reading this third paragraph that becomes the Shema, we're reading all about the tzitzit, the tassels that adorn the fringes that we wear over our shoulders when we pray. And those tzitzit are supposed to remind us of our mitzvot, of the commandments that we have. And the rabbis note that if we were to say Lema'an tizkaru, we're saying something different. The word schar means a reward. And if we say Lema'an tizkaru, it's as though we're rewarded by having the privilege to do mitzvot. But us having to do mitzvot is not a reward from God. Lema'an tizkaru. So that you remember. We need to remember that we as Jews are obligated for God's mitzvot. Here's why I think it's an important distinction. You're receiving diplomas tonight. You've received diplomas tonight. Mazel tov. I want you to hang them somewhere where you can see them all the time. Hang them in your room. Hang them on the ceiling above your bed so you can wake up and look at them. Right? And you should feel good. You should feel proud. You've earned them. But your diplomas are more than a simple reward. Because the reward is something about which you feel proud, but it is something fleeting. It's not permanent. Because hopefully as you go on in life, you'll have more and more rewards, and you'll feel good about them. But a memory is something that can last forever. And perhaps more importantly, a memory is something that can inspire you forever. And so I want you to hang your diplomas in a place that you can see them, so that you can look back and remember MJDS. You can remember the Jewish identity that you formed, the sense of self-worth and self-confidence that you developed. You can look at your diplomas and you can remember the knowledge that you've learned. You can look at your diplomas and remember the character that you have developed. Because remembering those things will inspire your heart. And your heart is then going to want to do something, and then your body is going to do something, and you'll do it. That's the power of memory. It leads to action. And so my bracha for you, graduates of MJDS 5775, my bracha for you is that you always remember everything that MJDS gave to you and that you gave to MJDS. And may that then inspire you to new actions and to new rewards. And may those then inspire you to new memories, and may that cycle continue. And in doing so, may you not only enrich your lives and not only enrich the world in which you live, but also inspire all of the future MJDS graduates on that path. Mazel tov. And in a moment, I will ask everyone here to rise, including the graduates, as I recite Birkat Kohanim, the traditional blessing from originally in the Torah. Please rise. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May Adonai bless you and protect you. May Adonai light God's face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May Adonai lift God's countenance unto you and give you a lifetime of learning and action, and bring you and your family and your friends a lifetime of peace. Mazel tov. I ask everyone to remain standing as we invite Chazan Jeremy Stein, the Chazan of Congregation Beth Israel Ner Tamid, to lead us in Shehecheyanu and Hatikva.
Thank you.